TikTok, Twitch, YouTube. I also have a Discord if you want to talk to me up there. I have a car platform as well and a bike platform. I'll start up sooner or later because that's what I have. I play all other games. I mean, all games you can think of. And if you want to request games, request it from me. I'll happily play. Right now, yesterday I played Battlefield 6. Other days before that, I was on American Truck Simulator. I was playing Call of Duty at one point, but I stopped because, let's be honest, Call of Duty has turned to some shit. But anyways, guys, make sure you follow, like, subscribe. If you see this wheel right here in front of me, don't worry about it. That's because I also play truck driver simulator game. But without further ado, let's get into it. We're about to play some Ready or Not. Hit me now, and welcome to the vessel. Y'all let me know if that's the volume needs to go up or down. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit right now. There we go. Yeah, ignore this part. This is just the steering wheel. And let me know where my freaking camera needs to go too, cause I can always move it. You know what I'm saying? It's a great thing about this. I can always move it. So let me go to my Twitch on my phone, so I can view the stream manager that way too. Cool, cool. Make sure y'all follow, like, subscribe. I hope nothing wrong with it. I hope it don't, like... I'm on now. Did it need an update or something? Shit, yeah, it might need an update. It might need an update. I hope not. Cause what is it? What's going on? What's going slow? There we go. It's been a while, chat. That's all. It's been a while.
Detective Bailey, please call desk.
Thank you for tuning in, Steve, man. What's up, John Wick? Let's get into it. I'm not sure which one I'm on this time right now. But let's see what this time is. I already did all these. Probably go back over some later on. Hide and seek. What? I already did all of them? There's no more? Is that the last one or something? Wait, what? Ready or Not? Yeah, I did all those, I guess. I guess we can do this one. Select this mission. How y'all doing? Welcome to the chat. Remember, chat, if you want to see me play other games, just let me know. Follow, like, subscribe on all platforms. My Discord is the same as everything else. Just Twin Vessel 98. And let me know what you want me to play next. I play Call of Duty, Battlefield, Ready or Not, American Truck Simulator, all that. Hope it don't take long to load like it did just a minute ago to get into this thing. But yeah, chat. Oh yeah, also communicate with me, man. I'm gonna talk back. I read chats and I speak back. Whatever you like to say. What's up, Blessed? Welcome to the chat. Thank you for the heart, Nina. Thank you for liking. Nobody's watching on my TikTok right now. I mean, my Twitch right now. I mean, it's alright.
I'm with you.
Alright.
This is Doc. Negotiations have fallen apart. Move to secure the premises. Suspects are highly volatile.
Get down on your knees, hands up!
Hold up. Yeah, we can't go this way. Where my knife at? I need my men on the door, but
Stack up. Moving into
yeah,
place.
stack up right there.
Locked. Not happening.
I need somebody to wand that motherfucker.
Wand it.
10-4. Got the wand.
Okay.
Opening on the right. Looks good.
Somebody was hitting me up
I
on
got
Discord.
nothing.
Got nothing. Okay. I got picked that. Picked a lot.
Can you get the lock?
Unlocking. Doors unlocked.
Just want him to open the door, bro. I don't think I can get him just to open the door anymore.
Open that door.
There we go.
Got it.
Gotta remember how to play this game. I just want him to open it slowly. Okay.
Move in. Clear the room.
Moving!
Opening on the right. I got nothing here. Empty over here.
Put your hands up!
Empty over here. No
Checking
contact.
the area.
Hands up! Drop to your knees!
Yeah, somebody in the bathroom.
Enter and clear. Fall in behind me. Got your 6. Move in and clear it. Getting into place.
Closing these doors for right now. How we handle this?
Empty over here. No contact.
I need to leave the cuff on.
Talk reporting. Notifying trailers.
LSPD, don't move! Police, down on the ground! Put your fucking hands up! Police, get down!
Okay. Stay here. Stay calm.
I'm telling you, Chad. Like you gotta think, make sure everybody,
Talk.
you know,
Civilian captain
everybody is
emergency.
bad in this game until proven innocent.
Through the door and clear. Got it. Opening on the left. I got nothing here.
Opening on the right. Trim light out.
Restrain him.
Moving into handcuffs.
I haven't shot a single bullet yet.
Entry team, this is Talk. We're ready for them. This is Talk. Send them our way. Civilians have been taken hostage.
Split the stack and provide cover.
Talk to entry team. The suspects have taken hostage.
Dynamic movement. Flash and clear.
Open on the right.
Make sure.
Secure it.
Got that dude.
Talk here. Trailers inbound.
Enter the room and clear.
Acknowledge.
You don't want to keep me here. I'm valuable. I got information, money.
Man, shut up. You freaking dude.
Opening on the left.
Keep talking.
Nothing here, sir.
Light stick out.
I forgot how to take out the knife in this game, man.
Provide support on me.
Got your back.
Stack left
Post
side.
up on the
I
left.
mean.
Copy.
This can't be happening.
Move in and clear.
Move, move, move!
Opening on the left.
Nothing.
Move and clear.
Moving up.
Move, move, move!
Open on the left.
Don't look at me like that.
We're here.
I'm not the enemy. Don't screw this up or we're both dead. Going in! This is my job.
Opening on the left.
Family's livelihood.
Hands up above your head.
Nothing.
Hands up.
Fuck this, I ain't going down like this. My life is worth more than theirs. How do you?
Dynamic movement. Flash and clear.
Place.
Flash.
That's the cabrón. They're coming.
Yeah, I've been having a good day so far. How about you? How are you doing?
Hands up. Down on your knees.
Don't worry, we're gonna get you out of this.
Arrest him.
I'll get him.
Entry team to talk.
Entry team, suspect secured, ready for pickup.
Civilian ready to talk.
Civilian is good to go.
Continue with
Zipped up
objective.
and good to go. Securing. Evidence secured.
Post up.
All good.
Talk. Suspect secured. Ready for pickup.
Trailers incoming.
Need to wand that door. I hate releasing too early.
Use the mirror.
There
Check
you
for
go.
targets. Wand's ready.
We check for targets.
I didn't do anything, man. I swear. Just a bystander.
It's clean. Got one here. Nothing in hand.
Amigo, I pay you. What you want? Money? I'm not the guy you should be worried about.
Get out of my officer's way.
You'll regret this, cabrón. Put me down. I'm innocent. I work hard, senor. I'm not a criminal.
Oh, that's good. You went shopping
Move
in
in and
there.
clear.
Copy
Let me
that.
go and I'll cut you in on this. Good morning. Moving!
Clear over here, boss. Arrest him.
Damn, my nigga died.
Lead the talk.
Got an officer unresponsive.
Proceed with mission.
Finish safe. Got it back.
My nigga dead.
Doc, great work. Keep going.
Alright, that's a clear.
This is Talk. Great work, entry team. That's a wrap.
Had a glitch right there though. You saw the gun wasn't put up right. But yeah, you got a dog. What type of dog you got? Turn to headquarters. I got 1 like so far, guys. 2 likes so far. Nina. Janina.
Officer Phillips, call 4724. Officer
Stolen
Phillips,
Valor, new mission.
4724.
Alrighty, chat. Hate when my controller does that shit, man. I need a new cord thing or something or whatever the hell. Or maybe I need to just connect it Bluetoothly, right? Does that work better? Like connecting it in a Bluetooth way. Taking so long for it. Oh, there it go. No, I'm not gonna mess with it right now, but yeah, I could.
Doc here. Suspects have dug in and may have planted traps. Move with extreme caution.
Six.
Okay, moving in. What's the map look like?
Hands in the air.
LSPD, put your hands up! Down on the ground! Police, get down! Hands up, above your head! Down on your knees, slowly!
Check it with the mirror.
Done. Mirror ready.
Get down
The suspects have taken hostage.
Stretch! Put your hands up
Got some openings.
Get down and put your
Spring.
hands up! Police,
This is Doc.
stay where you are!
The suspects have
Get
taken
down.
civilians
LSPD,
prisoner.
hands up! Police, I want to see those hands! Raise your hands, now!
Get down. Don't reach for anything.
Entry team, this is Doc. You are
Post
clear
up.
to proceed.
Post
Be
up and
advised,
provide cover.
Suspects are holding civilians hostage.
Good.
Open and clear.
Element, this is
Damn,
Doc.
I thought he dealt with them
Civilians
already.
have been
Got
taken
it back.
hostage.
He's a mouse. He's a show dog for sure. Oh, that's cool, man. Got a show dog.
Looks clear over here, boss.
Tie them down. Secure it.
Suspect making his face.
Moving in!
Open it on the left.
Drop your weapon!
I ain't telling him to move in.
Down, don't move! Drop it and put your hands up! Police, get down! Get down on the ground, now! Drop the weapon and put your hands on your head! Drop the weapon and put your hands up! Hands up! Get down! Police, get down! Down on your knees! Get down, I want to see hands!
Entry team to talk. Suspect
Lead, this
down.
is
On
Doc.
me.
Coroner standing by.
Arrest him.
Restrain.
Secure the weapon.
Got it.
I want that door open.
Takes so long to open the damn door.
Move in. Clear the room.
Put your hands up! Hands up! Do it now! Hands on your head!
Civilian contact. Open it on the left. I got nothing.
Talk to element. Stabilize them and we'll send EMTs.
Restrain him.
Got him!
Stay on me.
Civilian,
Provide support.
right with you.
Talk to element. Continue with
Cover.
objective.
Got him.
Good.
Gonna pack it up. Securing.
Move in and clear.
All right. Breaching.
How do I do this without killing my cops? I need to figure out a way.
Cuff.
Evidence good to
I'm
go.
doing myself.
Got an officer unresponsive.
Shit, it with a flashbang. Oh shit, why are they going shit?
I'm out. Cover me.
Move in. Bang and clear.
Getting into position. Flashing it.
Opening on the left. Good here. contacts.
Provide support on me.
On your six. Going into cuff. Whoa.
Monitored. Remember your use of force.
I'll bag it.
Let's make sure no one else is here.
Don't move. Ready.
From where? It's to show you where he got shot from. I need to know where I got shot from. Like, what the hell? Too many messages. What the hell? Oh, people joining in and out. That's all. That's. Oh yeah, Friendly Fire is definitely on, dude. Unless you play. I mean, I think even if you play casual, it's still on. Yeah, I didn't see it coming. This game is very, very like hard. I've even heard real operators and like SWAT team have a hard time playing this game, especially when you play with other people, because when you play online, people just rush in. It's just so stupid. I gotta add the other ones. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. But this game is supposed to be hard like that, so yeah. Alright, let's see if we got this shit. Also, Steven Ham, thank you for staying tuned, as well as you remaster.
Doc reporting. Exercise extreme caution. Suspects are barricaded and may have planted traps across the premises. Watch your step.
Get down!
Get down! I want to see hands! Put your hands up! Get down and keep your hands up! Down on your knees! Slowly!
Over there.
On my way.
On my six.
You're in my spot.
Can't hide forever, bitch. You know what happens to snitches, right? I hear you. You're dead.
Just let me go home.
What the hell?
Move over there.
Oh, wait a second.
On me. Move.
Got you back.
Back.
Trying to make him move to me.
Go fuck yourself. Fuck you. Stand up. Act like you got a spine. If they take me, I ain't saying shit.
Move
Why
and stay
fight
there.
those I'm loyal.
Sorry for that. My wife interrupted my stream for a little bit.
Detaining.
Saw that.
Don't mess with the cuffs. Zip
Cuffs
cuff and
gonna
good to
fit
go.
me?
Element to talk. Ready.
Lead, this is Todd.
Compliant.
Notifying trailers.
Hands up! Do it! Hands up! Above your head! Down on your knees! Police, drop the weapon!
Hands so I can see them!
We will use these.
Roger.
Damn it. Move, move, move!
Opening on the left.
Get on the ground now!
Suspect down. In need of 10.
Lead, this is Todd. Make them stable and proceed with mission.
Yeah, keep walking with your punk ass.
Make him secure.
Don't move. Zipped up.
Suspect
Element evidence good to
go. Suspect in
Continue
custody.
mission.
Stay on me.
I got
Cuff him.
Going in a
Disable that weapon.
I'm on it. Good to go. I'll zip it up. We got a suspect here in need of medical attention.
EMTs and trailers are standing by. The suspect is taking hostages.
I can't.
Talk to Element. Be advised, advised, the suspects are holding civilians hostage.
Police, hands up!
No! God's sake!
LSPD, hands up!
I didn't do anything!
Raise your
Mirror
hands
for
above your head.
suspects.
LSPD, hands
No
up!
way!
I got the one.
Police, hands up!
They can't be serious.
Opening on the right. Shit. It's wired. Suspect. Armed.
It's wire. Damn.
Better not hold, fool.
Slap on the wrist is all I'm gonna get.
Cut that trap.
I got it.
I know he waiting for me, but you gotta cut the trap first.
Got rid of it.
Get on the ground, now!
Oh my God! What the hell is happening?
The door.
On it.
Need you to slide over.
Notifying morgue.
This is crazy.
Secure.
Clear it on my move.
Getting into place.
Hey, do you have your phone on you?
Move! Go!
Opening on the left.
Nothing.
Look at you!
This is Talk. Clean house and we'll take them out.
Secure the weapon. Arrest him.
Pray I stay locked up. It won't last.
LSPD!
I don't kneel for nobody.
Secure him.
Go ahead, cop.
Talk to me.
Got them all zipped
Proceed
up.
with mission.
It'd be scary going to this thing, bro.
All good.
Provide support.
On your six.
Cover me. Disarming the device.
Hold on, let's go up and down the stairs first. You can clear it all the way up and down first before we do anything.
Don't shoot!
This ain't nothing but a pause, officer.
We're not here for you.
Don't leave me!
Talk
Civilian
to
is
element.
secured.
Continue mission.
Yeah, I know, right? In the first few games, you don't have to worry about it, but in this one, you have to worry about it.
Police, get down!
Move in. Clear the room.
Acknowledge.
Where are you going? Moving in, pussy!
Opening on the right. Good here.
Dynamic movement. Move and clear.
I'm going!
I got nothing here. Empty over here. No contact.
Get down! I want to see hands! Police, hands up!
That's right. I gotta
Police,
look at
down
the
to
door.
ground!
There we go.
Turn around slowly. Stay here.
Yeah, you gotta check every room, every bathroom, everything. There's no fair.
Element talk.
Be quiet.
Civilian
here.
secured.
Trailers are ready.
Just you're leading us some stairs once again. Okay.
Move and clear on my go.
Confirmed.
Move it, go!
Opening on the left. Nothing here, sir. Light stick out.
Back up!
Show us the footage! Put your hands!
Be alive!
Got it!
Ain't no hero shit today.
Hold
Right
on.
here.
On my six.
Follow me. You gotta approach from a different angle. Did we go through that already? I don't know.
Securing.
I'll save it.
You gotta be very tactical with it. Even when you're being tactical, it's like
Can't be happening right now.
Fucking Parker's crazy ass,
Put the
man.
knife down! Put the knife on the ground!
Better have armor.
Drop the knife! Put the knife on the ground!
Move there.
Don't move, don't talk, don't breathe wrong.
Got him. Don't make any sudden moves.
Step up.
Suspect cuffed and secured.
I'll kill him.
Making it safe.
Ain't nobody saving you.
you gotta get your in from different ways too. You gotta be tactical, yeah, but you gotta different enter from different ways. If you don't, that's a whole setup. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why I kicked in that door. Ryan didn't need to. I was just trying to peek.
Restrain him.
Somebody restrain that nigga.
Ready. Move and clear on me. Ready.
Yeah, they got the knife. Okay.
Opening on the right.
You wanna fight?
Dang, my team can't shoot worth shit right now. What the hell are they doing? You saw that? Nigga, let me get shot up. And my officer died.
Officer down, requesting immediate
Proceed with
My
Thames.
mission.
officer died because he don't know how to shoot. First of all, you know,
With them, I swear.
I don't even know how he went in there yet. I did not tell him to move through there yet.
Entry team to talk.
Officer down, I say again, officer down!
This dude got me shot. Like, he went in there like he knew what he was doing. And then he got me shot.
Fall in behind me.
You got point.
Okay. Like, I don't know.
On your six. Disable that weapon.
Done.
Fall in.
On you.
They don't know what to do. Everybody injured.
Provide support.
Got your back.
And I'll break their neck.
Hands up now! Drop to your knees!
This ain't nothing but a pause, officer. I'll kill him. Back up.
Hands up above your head!
I'd rather die standing. Ain't no hero shit today.
Stack up on the right.
In position.
And I'll break their neck. Hope that vent's thick.
Open it. Toss a flashbang.
Drop it and put your hands up! I dare you. You shoot, they die.
Drop the weapon and...
There are lives on the line. Watch it.
I couldn't.
Got an opening here.
Couldn't save the hostage on that one.
Securing. Yeah, I got cuffs.
He about to shoot her anyways. I was like, fuck it. Like, well, he did shoot. I just shot a double tap on him then.
LSPD, don't move. Police, hands in the air.
What is he doing?
Put your hands up!
That's why I need to fall in.
I'm with you.
Before he gets shot up.
Arrest him.
Moving into handcuffs. Stay here and stay down. Civilian is cuffed and good to go. Entry team to talk. Civity's ready.
Talk. Trailers en route.
Move in and clear.
Stacking.
Let's go.
Opening on the
Yeah, I'm gonna let them go there.
Keep your hands up! Hands up, now! Hands on your head! Do it! Let me see those hands!
Meg, don't hurt me!
Stay down and turn around. Keep your hands behind your back.
Thank you so much! Oh, God.
Lead to talk.
Thank you.
Civilian
Entry
cuffed
team
and
to
prepped for
talk.
evac.
Proceed with mission.
I'm letting them do everything else, cause since they want to be all bad boy, I'm letting them go by themselves. Yeah, I tried to save her life, but he just wanted to shoot. So I was like, all right, shoot her then.
On my six. On you.
Stay cool.
Yep.
Stay cool.
Soft,
Talk reporting.
soft,
Mission is complete.
complete
Threat
mission.
is diffused.
I always have a dead officer because they do some stupid shit. Like I don't understand it, bruh. But why are you doing stupid shit for? Like, I can't rescue all the civilians. And I didn't kill the civilian. What? She was already dead. Trying to say I killed the civilian. What kind of shit was that? Oh, my controller keep on doing that stupid shit. That's why I need to. Chat, I'm at the. Here, give me 1 second, chat. I'm about to do cam only. This thing right here. This. I'm about to see if I can connect my controller without having to do this anymore. Like I'm trying to see if I can do Bluetooth devices. Oh, yes. I can check. I connected my wireless controller. I'm good. Okay. Let's see what happens now, chat. Alright, I'm back in the game. Cool. Full setup. Welcome my 3 people on Twitch. I don't see anybody but my friend Remaster up here hitting me up, so make sure you follow. How do I see that? I want to see like who's in here. Whatever. Where am I? TikTok at? There we go. Alright, TikTok. Oh yeah. Crispy. Nah, I ain't never gotta worry about no. I got a D on that stolen valor shit. Maybe that's why I won't let me move on. You have no new unlocks.
Awesome, Iris called that.
Let's see. So, going through all those. We'll do Starling Valor again. We'll do it again so we can see if that's the reason why we couldn't get anything else new yet. Maybe there's nothing else new. Maybe I need to get, you know, oh, I don't want casual. Hold up. What did I have the last one on? Yeah, I'm gonna just do whatever. Sorry, I'm not gonna do all that work to go. Yeah, but earlier in the game, I shot the dude and the hostage survived in the first time, the first attempt that I did before I died, obviously. But yeah, but the other hostage, like, I guess it was because the awkward way we went in and everything. Should have went a different way. I should have flashed. Or we flashed him. I don't know how he didn't. You know what I'm saying? But nah, the motherfucker still. He's like he out.
Element, this is
Hands up
Doc.
now! Drop,
Negotiations
get on the ground
failed.
now! Put your
Suspect
fucking
well
hands, drop the weapon,
barricaded
and get down now!
Stay alert. Move in, remember your use of force, and secure the area.
Oh yeah, you can get them to move to their position. I forgot. So, do this.
Move forward. Move to the sound of my voice.
There we go. Get her moving. Bitch. She stopped moving.
Over there.
Moving.
Provide support.
You're 6.
Move towards me.
The controls are kind of. Why you ain't moving?
Move to the sound of my voice.
It's too fucking quiet, man.
Cuffing. Everyone's got a choice. You made yours.
Oh shit, these women got guns too. Lord.
Fuck you.
Get the weapon. He ain't get the weapon, bro.
Back it up.
I got it. You don't gotta worry about that.
I knew they were gonna come for you one day. Look at the big boys, all you are fucked.
Drop it!
Contact is down.
Proceed with mission.
Going around this bitch this time.
LSPD, don't move!
Ain't got no time to breathe. You're dead. Fucking Parker's crazy ass, man.
Oh, one of them stack on the right
Stack up on the
side.
right.
In position. Doors unlocked.
Had to bring that cop in. Man.
Move in on my
Moving
leader.
clear on my go.
Copy.
Ghost Recon Wildlands. They bring in my AI teammates be doing the same thing. Sometimes I know, right? But then if I play with some actual people, they just be running and gunning.
Opening on the right.
Empty
Falling
over here.
behind me.
No
I
contact.
got you.
Moving clear on me.
Ready.
Down on your knees!
Opening on the left. Looks clear over here, boss.
Chem light, nothing.
I'll see
Coming
you.
in to handcuff you.
I'm with you.
Suspect cuffed and secured.
Making it safe.
In the way, Chief. Ellis, hands up! Down on your hands on your head! Move! Down now! Put your hands up!
Okay.
Enter and clear.
No problem.
Scan that threshold.
I'm going. Nothing here, sir. Searching the area. Good to go. Entry team to talk. I got you. Civilian is secure. Civilian ready for transport.
Clear it on my move.
Attacking.
We shoot from that door.
Hands up! Above your head!
In the area.
Keep your hands up! Wait, let's go!
Opening on the left. Empty over here. No contacts.
Fuck off!
Moving. Drop the gun.
Somebody there? Speak up.
Let me see those hands!
Oh, we doing this now? Man.
Making it safe.
You have the right to remain silent. I have to put these on you. Got them all zipped up. Evidence good to go.
What's your badge number?
Evidence good to go.
Please, no, I
Dynamic movement. Move and
Copy.
clear.
Can't do this to me. Moving in. Stay down.
Opening on the left.
Looks clear over here.
Get down!
What? You scared? Pull the trigger.
Why did he? My shit acting like a switch right now. For what? For two? Why did he like? I shot him already. He over here jerk like I didn't shoot him.
Got friends. Friends with guns.
Post up left side.
Ready.
Entry team.
That's what I'm saying. They be eating bullets.
Leave this talk. Dems notified.
Go ahead. Get your jollies off, fucker.
Arrest him.
Restraining.
You see what's going on out there?
Zipped up and good to go.
Every man for himself.
Enter the room and clear.
All clear.
Move, move, move.
Opening on the left. Good here.
Fall in.
You got point.
I gotta tell them to fall in so they won't kill them, get themselves killed.
Fucking Parker's crazy ass, man.
Down on the ground, now!
I'd rather die.
Drop
today.
the weapon and...
They be eating bullets. I shot him with that pistol. That's the thing. You're supposed to give him a chance. I get it. You're supposed to give him a chance, but like sometimes you just can't. He injured. Chin injured because of me. Oh yeah, you right. I used to love that game too, man. Army of Two. They need to make another one. Actually, no, they don't, because if they just need to make it again, basically.
Going into cup. They're buckled safe.
Where am I? Okay. I know what I need. Night vision. No, this is stupid. Cause if I go down and he on that window, we toast. Oh yeah, that's right. Porting lets me go faster. I forgot about that. Low port carry makes me go faster. See?
Stack up on the left.
Doing it.
I get it. You got a job to do.
Move in and clear it.
Going in.
Open on the right.
I got nothing here.
On my 6.
Light stick behind you.
Police, come out! Get out of there now! Arms outstretched.
Oh, this bitch right there.
Put your hands up!
Hands up!
She just spotted. Did you see that? She just spotted there. Like what? What kind of craziness was that? Yeah, it was wild. Did she just come out the bathroom or something? I don't know. I don't even know, bruh. She just spotted there to me.
Police, don't!
Fuck you.
How are you?
Civilians have been taken hostage. Talk reporting. The suspects have taken hostages.
I'll get them ready.
Secure them.
Gotta do this for safety. Civilian is cuffed and good to go.
Sweet.
ready for
This is Doc.
transport.
Beauty. Keep them coming.
Arrest them.
Got him.
Secure the gun.
All right.
Secured. Got them all zipped up. Making it safe.
Yeah, I don't know. They could probably make like a remastered version of it, or like something like the same thing, but just. Where's the peeking?
Disarming trap.
They should make a remastered version of that. I can't kick because I'm wounded. My broken leg. Because people don't shoot for me. Holy shit. Let's go a different way. Wasn't this just the door? Where was? Okay, so this motherfucker just moved. Then again, EA Montreal made Area 2. That's already investigator will have revived. You have the theory. Yeah. Who all this talking? Like, oh, there's more people downstairs. That's right. So I guess. Yeah, they're not coming back. Wish they would, but they're not coming back. I think I'm gonna go in this way. Let me check how much ammo I got. Okay, I got good ammo on my pistol. You double tap that.
Should be you in these fucking ties.
Get down! I want to see hands!
Nigga just trying to run out the mother.
Go ahead, get your jollies off, fucker.
Yeah, that used to be dope.
Slow
Remember your use of force.
I'll get him ready.
I shot the. Good thing he didn't die.
Element to talk.
Civilian
Ready for transport.
Continue
Good
with
to go.
objective.
Compliant.
Oh, so he was right there. But okay, so he went from holding hostage to not holding hostage every time I came through this mother. Okay.
Look at you. Okay, done. For what?
Police, get down! What? Hands up! Do it now! Hands on your head! Do it now! Police, get your hands! Get on the ground!
got it.
Now!
Stay calm for me, all right?
Police,
Civilians
deals
ready.
off.
Civilians secured.
We're
Good
ready.
to go.
Yeah, huh? This what you like seeing? You think this is just talk? This what you like seeing?
Provide support on me.
Right with you.
Here where that guy killed them again. He's gonna flash this shit here.
Split the door.
Affirmative.
Open it and clear it with a flash.
It's open. We're good to go.
I won't stay locked up long.
Open and deploy flashbangs.
The fuck are they doing? Is it open?
Open and bang it.
Then I open and banging it. There, god damn, I had to say it 3 times for the
Flash
motherfucker.
out.
Hands up! Don't move! LSPD! Hands up! Do it now! Don't move! Down on your knees, hands up!
Chem light.
Hands on your head!
I did nothing.
Talk.
Officer
here.
down! Notify
Copy that.
trailers!
Empty over here. No contact.
Restrain them.
Moving into handcuff. This is procedure. Civilian is ready. Element to talk.
This
Civilian
is
is
Doc.
secured.
We're ready for him.
Yeah, they gotta fix some of these things. But man was right, boy.
你想死啊？你没看到特种部队来了？那怎么办？要不要放个
Hands up, now! Where are you going, pussy?
Ready.
On me. Move.
Right with you.
Okay, I'll just end it this way.
Doc to Element. Put him on safe and let him hang. Great job.
Personal best should be better now. No dead officers. That's a B. He got ammo, bro. Like, no dead officers. You know what I mean? That was better, but I don't know if it's gonna like let me get to the next level, or either I need to buy like the you know whatever it is. Did I unlock anything? You have no new unlocks. So what? That's all. That's all you get to play on this game for real. What? It didn't change. It changed it. It's still at D, but it's okay. Hide and seek, elephant, all that stuff. Play those. I guess we can just play online now. The main menu. Our single player. What does quick play do? Well, it's probably gonna just storm up a match, like not a match, storm up one that we already done before. Or something. Who knows? The fuck? That's not what I wanted. Cause it seems like he was just going into single player, no multiplayer, find public game, standard, search. What? There's nobody playing this shit right now? That's crazy. Whole chat, I'm about to hop off and hop back on. Because what I'm going to do is close the stream, rename it, and then get back on. What do y'all want to see me play? Well, remaster. What do you want to see me play? Since there's 3 people in this, but it's just me, you, and somebody else. That's my Twitch, at least. For TikTok, it was a few people in here, but they just left, obviously. Let's see, what should I play next? Since this game is basically finished until I get DLCs. Down for whatever. Cool, cool. If you're down for whatever, I just do whatever, bro. Or actually, is it possible to keep the stream up and rename? No, it's not, because TikTok won't do it that way. I know for sure. So I'll be back in a second, chat. Thank you. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe. On all platforms. Again.